for watching Numbskull News. And today I'm going to talk about the CFP, the top 12, the teams that are in, where they're ranked, all that crap. It's shocking. It's shocking that it appears this committee got pretty much everything right. There's not a lot to bitch about. So let's take a look at it. Now, as you can see, when you look through this whole damn thing, I don't see Alabama anywhere, do you? I mean, that was my first takeaway, because, look, y'all know me. I was assuming the ACC was about to get screwed again. But no. There's SMU, number 11. All right, they fell a little bit. But I was assuming that last week Alabama was number 11. They were going to screw SMU if they had lost. But no. I'll be damned, they're in. Now for the Big 12, what we needed to happen, happened. Clemson won. And that puts Arizona State, and what a freaking win they had in the conference championship. 45, what was it, 45 points they put up? Just an incredible blowout of Iowa State. I did not see Iowa State getting blown out like that. But Arizona State was just on. Mr. Scatterboo. That dude ran for 1,000,000 miles. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. They get the 4 seed. Some Big 12 people are bitching, hey, there's no way any G5 should be ranked above a Big 12 team. Now, here's the problem with that. All of a sudden, you sound like Greg Sankey, or you sound like one of these a-holes, one of these ESPN media people. You know, like, the Big 12 is no comparison to the SEC. Blah. All right, let's don't be like that. Boise State has had an incredible run this year. They beat UNLV for a second time, who's also a ranked team and a good team. Boise State deserves to be ranked 3rd. I got no issue with that. It sounds like Alabama people, because they still piss and moan and bitch and complain that TCU a couple years ago got into the playoff over Alabama. Well, tough shit, they did. Get the hell over it. So let's don't sound like a bunch of Alabama stuck-up assholes. Boise State earned their spot. All right? Arizona State earned theirs too. But we can't sit there. Look, records got to mean something. Boise State's sitting there with 1 loss, conference champ. Arizona State has 2 losses. I got no problem with 1 through 4 here. You know, as much as, I still think Georgia's a little suspect. I think they're a little suspect, but they earned the 2 spot. Got no problem with the 2 spot. They're the SEC champs. They earned it. Unlike Alabama. Look, Alabama people got to get the hell over it. They just do. Don't sit there and tell me that they earned a spot over South Carolina. They didn't. They didn't. I can't believe SMU. Look at the strength of schedule. SMU has no losses like Alabama does. I tell you what, SMU does not lose to Vanderbilt. Hell, they probably don't lose to OU. I don't want to hear about, the OU's got all this talent. Really? Why are they 6-6? They should be 5-7, because Alabama should have taken care of business there. And if Alabama had, they would have been in here somewhere. They would have been in here. But that didn't happen, did it? No. So you didn't earn a spot. I know strength of schedule matters a lot, but again, your record has to matter. It just does. I do have a slight issue with some of this. However, I would not put Texas above Notre Dame. Because bottom line, both Texas and Notre Dame, all right, neither one of them have like this insane strength of schedule. Notre Dame's best win is what? Texas A&M? Same thing with Texas. Texas lost to Georgia twice. I understand you're not trying to punish Texas for losing to Georgia for a second time in a conference game. They're trying to make sure that the conference games are still valuable and seen that way and important and all that. But Notre Dame's one loss. I understand that they don't have a conference game to play. Okay? One loss. I'm sorry, Notre Dame, they deserve that spot. I would have gave them the 5th seed over Texas. I would have put Texas at 7. Let Texas play Indiana. Because what's all the consternation about between those two teams? Well, they haven't played anybody, right? Their strength of schedule is ass, both Texas and Indiana. So let them fight it out. Let them fight it out. Instead, it's Notre Dame versus Indiana. Winner gets Georgia. And, let's just, even if Penn State beats SMU, but this could go either way. Then you got to get through Boise State. Georgia in the round of 4, if, assuming they get there, and I think they'll be favored. But whether it's SMU, Boise State, or Penn State can't beat Ohio State. And Ohio State and Georgia are kind of on that same level. So Georgia is kind of has an easier walk in the park, whereas Oregon, let's say they beat Ohio State again, which is going to be tough. They beat them by 1-2 points last time, so that's going to be nuts. And then their Final Four matchup. If you look at this, most people will say Texas is highly favored to get there. So then you got to get through Texas. So theoretically, Ohio State or Oregon will have to get through one or the other, may have to play Texas, and then Georgia in the championship round. So they did it. They did a job here, to me, trying to protect the SEC a little bit. And to me, they screwed Notre Dame by putting them down here at 7. But really, other than that, I don't see a lot of problems here. Clemson being at 12, they're 9-3. They're lucky to be in this shit to begin with. And I'll say this, Texas isn't safe with Clemson. Clemson showed they showed some gumption coming back because they snuck into their conference title game. They did. They lost a game and got in. But this isn't a foregone conclusion between Texas and Clemson that Texas is going to get that. Now, Ohio State, I think that's a big favorite. It'll be surprising to me if Tennessee beats them. Hey, great job. I just don't expect that. Penn State and SMU. Look, man, I see when I see Penn State, I see a really good team, dude. Really good. I know they lose to Ohio State. They lost to Oregon. But those are two of the best teams in the country you lost to. SMU, they lost to Clemson. They lost early to BYU. This isn't going to be no blowout game. SMU is going to give them all they want. And to me, that's a toss-up game, really. Penn State and the Mustangs, it's toss-up. And believe me, Boise State is going to give them all the hell they want. Boise State is really good, y'all. Really good. Their only loss is a close loss to Oregon. I know pretty much everybody else, you can say, well, they played nobody. Well, UNLV is pretty damn good. They played some quality teams. But, G5, for whatever that's worth. They beat Oregon State, whatever that's worth. But they're going to be a handful. I'll tell you that for Penn State or for SMU, they'll be a handful. Notre Dame, Indiana. Notre Dame, Indiana. Notre Dame. They're really sneaky good. And right now I have a feeling most people, as far as Indiana is concerned, people don't really know how good they are. I think there needs to be a chip on their shoulder because most people are talking now, well, it should be Alabama over Indiana, which is stupid. Indiana being one loss. And their one loss is to Ohio State. Give me a break. And I know they haven't played a shit ton of people. It was an easy schedule. Of course, you wouldn't say that if Michigan was its normal Michigan self this year. But, that aside, Indiana and Notre Dame to me is probably the most intriguing matchup that's coming up. And most people, this thing should have monstrous freaking ratings to it. And in case you're wondering, I wonder who could beat who. I mean, if you're just going off a brand, you're talking Notre Dame, but this ain't about brand. This is about football. And both these teams are really good. If I had to put a little money on it, I'd probably put it on Notre Dame, to tell you the truth. Notre Dame, I know they took a dump with Northern Illinois, but since then, they've been pretty damn dominant. But it ain't like I'm always right. It's not like I'm always right. But yeah, I think that's the most intriguing matchup. Texas and Clemson is, all these matchups are really interesting. This is why I love the 12-team playoff, man. And I won't mind it when it expands, and it will, 14, 16 teams or whatever. But no, these are all really good matchups. But I think they did do the SEC a little bit of a favor. Now, they did throw 2 of them to the Wolves, where Ohio State and Oregon are there. But if you notice, Texas doesn't really have to deal with much if you don't respect the ACC champ or the Big 12 champ, if you look at it that way. They don't have to deal with much until you get to the round of 4, and then they'll have Ohio State or Oregon to deal with at that point. So if you want to look at it as an elitist, but like I said, Clemson's going to give them all they want. And Arizona State, it's the team no one talked about all year long. I mean, at certain points, if you're a Big 12 fan, you're like, wow, Arizona State's kicking ass this year. But to be where they are, the 4th seed in the playoff, the Big 12 champ, no one saw that coming. Not when they were picked to be dead last in the conference. And here they are, number 1. This is going to be the best few weeks of college football of all time. And let me tell you this. The champ this year, you better tip your cap. I don't care who it is. I don't care if Tennessee wins it all, if SMU wins it all, if Notre Dame or Georgia, Oregon, Ohio State, anybody. I'm sorry, that's the most legit. This is going to be the most legit champion that college football has ever had. Ever. The 14 playoff is cute. At least you got that, but it's not a real playoff. It's only 4 teams. This is going to be the first real legit champion in college football to me. Because the BCS kiss my ass. Whatever they had before that, you can kiss my ass. This is, the top 12 teams or the best 12 that you can possibly throw in there, people who have earned the right to be there. Let's see what you got. Let's see what you got. Because whether you're playing 3 teams or 3 games or 4 games, you really have to earn it this time. So it'll be the most legit champion in the history of college football. I can't wait to see how this plays out. And I'm a Big 12 fan, and I am pushing hard for Arizona State. I know they're the underdog. No one's going to pick Arizona State. Now, if Clemson pulls off the upset with Texas, and they could, then there's a legit chance for Arizona State to beat Clemson. Because Clemson is very gettable. This isn't one of those dominant Clemson teams of several years ago that won titles. They could be gotten by Arizona State. Texas, no one's going to pick Arizona State over Texas. I will. I don't believe in Texas. I mean, we'll see. But they're not on Georgia's level. I mean, how many more times do you need to see Georgia beat their ass? So this is exciting. And like I said, I think the only thing they got wrong is where Notre Dame and Texas was. I think they should be flipped. but we're not going to agree 100% with anything. No one is. I'm super stoked. I'm super excited to see what happens. And for the first time in my lifetime or yours, we're going to have the most legit freaking champion there has ever been. And no one can piss and moan about it. And one more thing about the Alabama faithful right now that are been all day long. They've been crying in their beer, pissing and moaning, wailing. Can I just say this real quick? Shut up. Shut up. Beat Vanderbilt. Beat OU. A couple of 6-6 teams. You can't do that. I know your wins. Your wins are badass. Okay. You got to. As far as their resume goes, they got great wins. Unfortunately, and like, why are you just looking at their losses? Because there's 3 of them. 2 of them are really shitty. And it kind of erases some of the good you did. That's what losing does. That's what scoring 3 points against OU does. 6-6 OU. I don't care about their talent. They're 6-6. You don't think BYU got punished by losing to Kansas? When Kansas was one of the teams picked to be at the top of the Big 12 preseason. And towards the end of the season, they looked like it. As a matter of fact, they beat 3 or 4 ranked teams in a row? Being at the bottom of the Big 12. It's never happened. It's never happened in the history of the Big 12 before. But it happened this year. And BYU, they got dropped by the committee a ton for that. So, Alabama's above that? Apparently not. And you want to break away? We need to go do our own thing. Go do your own fucking thing. Kiss off. All right? Piss off. We'll add 4 teams, have 22, blah, blah. Whatever. Go ahead. Break away from the NCAA. Okay, well, no more NCAA tournament for you. No more College World Series for you. No more any other sport playing with everybody else for you. Break away and do your own thing. All right, you remember Howard Stern did that at one time. Still made a lot of money. But all of a sudden, he's irrelevant. It's like he disappeared for the last 20 plus years. And that's what you will be. You will fade away without the whole rest of the college football, basketball, baseball world. You can't be dominant unless you can beat somebody. You can't just play circle jerk with yourself and think that's what everybody wants to see. Maybe in your region, good for you. If I can humbly quote Christian Bale, good for you. Go play with yourself. Because that's all that'll be. No, you're not going to break away. You can piss and moan about it. Shut up. You got 3 teams in. On what can arguably be called a down year for the SEC, you still got 3 teams in. Shut up. Shut up, SEC fan. Kiss my ass. Well, you're just mad because you got one. Big 12 only deserves 1 team. We only deserve 1 team. I mean, I know there's some Big 12 fans pissing and moaning about where Arizona State is ranked. They think they should be ranked 3rd. I don't. And I think there's a lot of Big 12 fans out there that say, hey, Boise State earned that. No problem. They got 1 less loss than Arizona State. They earned it. That's what I say. They earned it. Well, guess what? Alabama didn't earn shit. Neither did the SEC. You got 3 in. You can make a case for 3. You can say you earned 3. Cool. Big 10 got 4. They got 4. Tough shit. Nobody over there lost to a 6-6 freaking Vanderbilt. All right, I know Ohio State lost to Michigan 7-5, but at least it's a freaking rival. At least it's a big time rival. Didn't Alabama have a little tough time with Auburn and their big time rivals, right? I mean, Georgia barely escaped against Georgia Tech. Sometimes rivals have a little something for you. Unless you're Arizona State this year. So I'm sorry. If you're an SEC fan, Alabama fan, and you're mad, screw off. Screw off. It's not your year to have 4. One day you will have 4. Maybe next year you'll have 4. More than likely next year you'll have 4. But for 1 year, you don't get that. Sorry. SMU earned it over any other SEC team. I don't give a shit what your brand is, what conference you play in, how dominant you think you are. The entire conference isn't so dominant. Alabama's been dominant. Georgia's been dominant. A handful of teams have been really dominant for a long time. And everybody else gets to soak in the sunshine in the SEC. Not everybody's earned it. Alabama ain't earned shit this year. But a trip to a different bowl game against a whoever the fuck opponent for nothing. And in your heart of hearts, you know, you don't want to see Milroe out there again, do you? You don't. You don't want to get punked in the playoffs 24-3 or something else. You don't want to see Ohio State just blow your freaking doors off, do you? You don't want to see Notre Dame whoop your ass. You don't want to see these teams just kill Alabama because what are they? A paper tiger this year. Oh, we beat Missouri. Who cares? Are they in the playoff? No. You know, Tennessee is. Aren't you one of their 10 wins? I think you are. Anyway. Just had to throw a rock at the hornet's nest one more time. Anyway. Thanks for watching this crap, and I'll be back with some more crap later. Bye.